Recognitions out of the way, please put your hands together for our keynote speaker, Aftershock Comics Vice President of Sales and Marketing and Industry Vet, Steve Rotterdam.
Everybody, it's good seeing you all. I don't know about you, this is the first time I've worn a suit in about 2 years. Actually, it's the first time I've worn pants in about 2 years, so it's kind of nice. And being that most of what, and I think some of you can relate to this, so much of what we do on a daily basis these days is done by Zoom, it is wonderful to see you all from the waist down. Especially you, John. All right. Thank you, Randy. And thank you, Mark and Shelley, and everyone associated with Baltimore Comic-Con. Thank you, friends, guests, and nominees of the Mike Ringo Comic Book Industry Awards. Now, I know what many of you are thinking about right now. Those who know me well and have been at meetings where I've been asked to speak are probably thinking, oh no, we're going to be here until midnight. My crab cakes are going to get cold. Well, have no fear. I've got a script, and I'm sticking to it. The rest of you are probably thinking, who the hell is this guy? Did someone die? Couldn't they get anyone else? I know that because that's exactly what I thought when Mark called me and asked me to do this. I mean, I never knew Mike Ringo personally. Well, that doesn't matter, said Mark. What could I say that would matter to the people in this room? You'll think of something, said Mark. Tell that story of how you met Neil Adams when you were 13 and asked him to draw dirty pictures of Lorna Dane. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell that story. Maybe later. And he said, yeah, come on, it'll be good for your career. And I said, what career? I'm in comics. I'm not going anywhere. And that's what I'd really like to focus my remarks on this evening. Everyone in this room has just come through the most unanticipated, unpredictable, and unprecedented period in our lives. And we're not out of the woods yet. But the world is different. This business is different. The supply chain is broken. It'll get fixed. But when? And at what cost? We know there will be casualties at the shop level, at the fan level, at the publisher level, and at the creator level. Are we ready for that? Can one ever be ready for that? The distribution landscape is insane. It's like an entire deck of 52 cards have been thrown up in the air and only 2 have managed to land so far. There's still a lot of uncertainty in the atmosphere. Oh, and please be sure to hold on to your programs and napkins after the dinner. We're going to have to collect them at the end of the night and recycle them so that DC can get the latest issue of Mr. Miracle out. Whatever substrate works. All along the way over the last 18 to 19 months, amidst all this mishigas, exit points have made themselves evident to each of us. This is your chance, State Flash. The plane's on fire. You know that parachute you've been holding on to? This is the time to bail out. But very few of us did. For whatever reason, and there are thousands of reasons, we stayed. We're still here. We're in comics. Less like a career than it is a calling. We're not going anywhere. But though we're not going anywhere, we're not sitting still. The evidence of that can perhaps best be seen and felt in the variety, quality, originality, and inventiveness of the works and creators nominated and celebrated here tonight. From where I sit, comics past, present, and future is in good hands. From where I sit tonight at the table that I'm sitting at, I'm overwhelmed with how positive the future looks. As varied, diverse, introspective, and enthusiastic a set of hands as they've ever been. A few years before Paul Levitz asked me to join his team at what would turn out to be the last official phase of his career as president and publisher at DC Comics, my marketing firm was working with a number of entertainment companies to create partnerships between brands within film studios and brands that had absolutely nothing to do with film studios. One of my clients was the retail division of Warner Brothers Consumer Products. We were working on ways to integrate members of the Justice League into Walmart. I admit that. You know, something like Aquaman representing sustainable fish, Walmart's commitment to sustainable salmon fishing. And I kid you not. Batman sort of representing the automotive sections at Walmarts across the country. Flash being used, you know, to symbolize express checkout, which was new at that time. Yeah, really. You should crucify me now. One afternoon, I received a phone call from a member of the Warner Brothers team who asked me if there were any characters of Hispanic origin in the DC Comics universe. Warner Brothers calling me, asking if DC had any Hispanic characters. This was mid-2000s. The term Latinx was not in vogue. So I said to them that there was this character called Vibe. He was from Puerto Rico. Everybody hated him. And they killed him off, so I don't recommend him. And then there's this character called Fire. Now, she's from Brazil, so I'm not sure she technically identifies as Hispanic. Plus, whenever she's on fire, a green fire, mind you, she's essentially naked. So after a few more minutes of discussion, my Warner Brothers client says to me, "Why do you know all that?" To which I responded, "Why don't you?" Oops, see, I wrote it all down. That's the broader world we still find ourselves in, although there has been improvement. But I'm so grateful that this awards program, the Ringos, lives and breathes at the core of comics. I'm so grateful that we don't offer an award for best IP or best exploitation and application of a comic book property to an instant ramen cup, or best Happy Meal. I can argue the merits and demerits of all of that noise, but not here, not in Baltimore, not at the Ringos. For those of us into whose hands responsibility for the works of those who came before has fallen, continue to guard those legacies with your creative lives. For those of us creating, promoting, and marketing new works, new stories, new ways of conveying history, new ways to entertain and encourage children, new ways to fight for and achieve representation and justice, while you will always be your own best advocate, challenge the rest of us in this community to broaden our horizons, expand our visions, step out of our comfort zones, and work to make a difference. As I said earlier, I never knew Mike Ringo personally, but I knew his work. I was and remain a fan. During a period without strict dictums to serve an overriding corporate mandate, Mike, together with Mark Wade and others, reimagined, reinvented, and ultimately set in motion a bold new era for the Flash, one that moved forward into the new without turning its back on what came before. The dynamism that Mike brought to renditions of Wally and Jay, the sage wisdom of Max Mercury, the introduction of Impulse, and all their stories still resonates and has worked its way into the countless renditions of the characters we find ourselves surrounded by today. Mike's work stressed movement, stressed moving forward. We're in comics. We are comics. And while we're not going anywhere, let's continue to move forward, ever forward. Thank you, and enjoy your dessert.